What's good, YouTube? This video is all about how dating is hard, but it's not impossible. One thing I don't do well with is self-pity. I know it's common in the depression stage of grief, but I still haven't quite learned how to accept it from people yet. And I suppose that's my burden. I just don't like how people get stuck there. Pity and sympathy are like a warm blanket for those of us who find the world to be a bit too cold. They will nurture in us an acceptance and an expectation of weakness if given too freely. More time is wasted here than in any other stage of grief, in my opinion. I'm more likely to say to someone, quit complaining about the shit that you have control over and make a change, than I am to say, there, you poor thing. You poor baby. Because in my opinion, while dating is one of those things that is easier said than done, we must not lose hope in the fact that it can be done. Damn it, a bad date isn't the worst thing in the world, and neither is rejection. What is pretty hard though is making the wrong decisions consistently and expecting somehow for contentment to come from quitting and not overcoming. I often encounter women who say they're done dating, that it's just too hard. And then I ask them, well, how many dates have you been on this year? And they be like 3, 4. A lot of times they haven't even been on any dates. They just talked to a couple of guys online that didn't manifest itself into a date. And they're already out. They already quit. Or they went on a few bad dates and it didn't work out, so they're just done. They've amplified the disappointment and the trouble that they had to go through to get to that very simple date. So you went on a bad date. Was the food good? Okay then. You had to eat, right? And then the other scenario is that oftentimes women who've admittedly made terrible decisions choosing men who they knew were not capable of loving them, or the women who had hoped to change a man over and over in their lives, just say, I give up. I can't do this anymore. Dating is too hard. When their decisions haven't made it any easier. Could you imagine if a business had that same quitting mentality? If they shut the door and closed the business down because they encountered a few bad employees? Or just as bad, they stayed open but barely functioning until the business failed? We'd all go to the grocery store, there'd be hardly shit on the shelf, there'd be no fresh produce or meat, just stovetop stuffing and tofu. It seems to be the shit people leave in a disaster if you've ever been to the store when a snowstorm was about to hit. There'd be no employees to help and you'd struggle to find anything not expired in the whole store. You might get to the front of the store and get in line, there'd be one lane open and you'd ask the cashier, man, what the hell is going on here? It's supposed to be a grocery store. And he'd be like, I don't know, man. They haven't posted any jobs this year. We had an employee quit and the rest got fired a few years ago. They interviewed 3 people and just gave up. They said finding a good employee was too hard. Some of y'all are like this grocery store. Your life is missing all kinds of necessities. Physical, mental, spiritual. You've got one employee and he's stealing shit out the store and he only comes to work on payday. And he should have been fired years ago. You just always hired the coolest and funniest candidates with no job skills, work experience, work ethic, or qualifications. Now your business is failing and you're ready to quit. I can't tell you how many times a day I look in my comment section and see the words, I'm staying single, or I'm done dating, or I quit, or I give up on men, or I've been abstinent for 4 years and I'm happy. Really? You're happy? Let me tell you something. If you quit relationships and seeking a connection years ago, but you're still watching the relationship genre on YouTube on a consistent basis, describing your experience as happy is a bit of a stretch. Defeat and contentment are 2 different things. We often try to present our defeat as contentment so others don't pity us. We often try to convince ourselves that we're content because it's easier and it's less scary than rejection or another failed relationship. I understand that. However, far too many of my clients over 50 have tried that and also failed. At around 30 or 40, they gave up, some even in their 20s. What they often realize is that the disappointment you feel from squandering the most precious resource of all, time, is as bad or even worse than a few failed relationships. They ultimately come to an understanding that life is about seizing every opportunity and making the most out of every moment. It's about getting the most out of our time here. They are also often better able to assess honestly the role they played in those failed relationships and all those experiences prior to the time they quit. They grow to regret all the years they spent swearing off love. They realize that their experience was a direct result of their actions and choices. Like every time they didn't accept no for an answer and they chased a man after he rejected them, they hurt themselves. Or every time they attempted to change a man who they knew lacked character. Or every time they begged for a man's time. Or took a cheater back. Or all the times they ignored their inner voices and listened to the butterflies in their stomach and let those make the decisions for them. Life-changing decisions. The times they tried to fit a square peg into a round hole and chased guys that didn't fit into their life plans. Dating is hard, but it's not impossible. It just has to be done right. It must be done strategically. It's a numbers game of interviews. The perfect candidate should have some balance and some qualifications. Keeping the business metaphor going, the best hiring managers look at a candidate's overall package and considers the fit based on the company's core needs and long-term goals. So with that said, instead of swearing off men and complaining, become a better manager of your dating life. Do a better job selecting the proper candidates. Hiring people into your life for the right reasons leads to more success and more pleasant surprises. But quitting is for quitters, and quitting won't help you. It'll just be another form of wasted time. Make the adjustments and get back out there. I think I've made my point. Follow me at KevHick24 on Instagram. I'll get with y'all later.